There's a moment where people have two choices. This is not for me, but I'm going to stay at it. There's something better for me.
My even just knowledge of what I was going through at the time is so much further advanced now. And I collapsed and I couldn't breathe. I was having what I now know was a panic attack. But every time you take a step, you are literally feeling sick to your stomach.
Welcome to Keep Hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. And of course, now and always, keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Chelsea Fournier. Chelsea, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First of all, I did something crazy. I didn't even ask you how to pronounce your last name. Did I nail that? Fournier?
You nailed it. I'm from Maine. It's the in-between
God, usually I make some
pronunciation.
snide comment to start, but I feel like I just hit the jackpot because I
You
always
did.
ask for pronunciations and I didn't. So today's a great day, not just because you're from Wilmington, North Carolina, the second best Wilmington in the world, because there's no sales tax in Wilmington, Delaware. So we like that.
Oh, that's true.
No offense to Wilmington. I've actually been there. Great little town. Thank you for being here. I want to delve into a lot. But before we kind of really get into what you're doing now, intuition, things like that.
Yeah.
We mentioned before, and you, I'm going to just read it from your bio.
Yeah, sure.
You use the term former business lawyer who helps soul-led founders, and I'm going to get to that afterwards. That says to me that you feel that lawyers don't have souls. Isn't that true? I'm just kidding.
Are we taking a dig?
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But
Some.
But what I find amazing about the people that I've spoken to on this podcast, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your story is one of them, is that very often, whether the greatest thing that people can do is try something that they think they may or may not like. Some people say they got forced into it, but it's that moment of, not, and all joking aside, or I'm not taking any shots at anybody. This is great, but it's not for me.
Yeah,
it's not like you were a drug dealer. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is terrible for everybody.
As an intellectual property lawyer.
You know what I mean? But like, right, exactly. Like, it's kind of like a drug dealer, but kind of not.
Right, exactly.
But you understand what I'm saying? There's a moment where people have two choices. They could say, this is not for me, but I'm going to stay at it. And that may be good, maybe not. Maybe one day it'll be for me. There's also that moment where it's like, even though I did the schooling, even though I'm here, there's something better for me. So if you could take us to that moment or kind of that development or how things happened, and then where you are today, I think that will really help the listeners get a grasp of where we're going here.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was, I'm in my 40s, and I was always of the generation of, you go to school, you get a good job, like doing all the things, checking all the boxes. And so I graduated college in less than 4 years. Who does that? Why not stay for the party? But I did.
Yeah, overachiever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
And then what do you do with a psychology degree if you don't want to necessarily go into the psychology field? Went to law school. I had actually worked my way through high school and in college at small law firms, being like a paralegal or doing different things. So it was kind of like, oh, I know people in this field. There's some things that I like about the type of work that they do. I'll go to law school. And so I went through law school, was towards the top of my class, got an offer at a great, large firm. So at the time, I'm from Maine, and I went to law school in Portland, Maine, which is a gorgeous town. If you've not been, you should visit. And got a great offer. Skyscrapers?
Pigeons?
Not in Maine.
Not for me. Sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Yeah. So I, got out in a bad economy, graduated from law school in 2008. Not everybody in my class was getting offers, and I was lucky enough to get an amazing offer. And to your point, I was, excited, enamored, getting out of any graduate program and having a great offer and being able to buy a house and doing all that in your early 20s was like exciting. But what I started to find is I was good at the tasks. I liked the research. I liked, being of service to people. But what I found very quickly is that it was a huge detriment to my health. I was overachieving, putting myself into the job, putting myself last. And so for a good chunk of time, almost 5, 6 years, my health was at the bottom of the list of priorities over billable hours, over acquiring clients. I actually ended up going through a process of co-founding a law firm that's still up and running in Portland, Maine. And I co-founded it with my now ex-husband. When we decided to become exes, I really reevaluated, do I still want to stay in this career? Do I want to start over in something that I've not created and work for someone? It turns out I didn't want to do that. And while I had been practicing law, I had been kind of moonlighting as a business coach. I had gone through coaching program back in, I don't know, 2010 or so, and was like, what if I started doing more in coaching and consulting where I can be a lot more flexible, don't have to be as rigid in what I do or don't do or offer or don't offer in services. It's just a little bit more of a Wild West, let's be honest, in the business coaching compared to providing legal services. And so I stepped fully into working for myself in 2015. And I've had lots of different versions and iterations. Most of us as entrepreneurs, it evolves, it grows. You shift what your niche is, you shift what services you're offering. But I've been doing that for over a decade and had lots of different seasons and good runs with it.
I am struck by the fact that you brought up something that I've heard a lot on this podcast. And a lot of people say, what does keep hustling? What does keep hustling mean?
Yeah,
and to me, it's defining and defining your hustle, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're hustling any less now. You have a different hustle and it's not for you and maybe it would be for somebody else. And by the way, chasing billable hours, if it wasn't for people who chase billable hours, our economy would probably not be what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a lot of questions, but the first is, how does it take 5 years for a person to realize that their health is being impacted? Or, because I've discussed this on the podcast before, is it a denial thing? For me, at least, a lot of what I've learned is people think it's normal.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I'm an X, Y, and therefore, I have friends who can work on 3 or 4 hours sleep. I can't.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the lifestyle, one can say for them, it probably wouldn't impact their health as much as it would impact mine.
Yeah, maybe so.
So I'm not sure about the normalization part of it.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the things that we need to be good at is recognizing the different impact that the same situation and system can have on two different people, and especially as it relates to their physical and mental health.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredibly true. And now I am deeply entrenched more in, physical healing, mental health healing, energetic healing. A lot of the clients I work with are healers. And so my even just knowledge of what I was going through at the time is so much further advanced now. But I can just look back. I mean, there was a morning, I remember it clear as day. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was working at the first law firm that I was working at out of school. And I was an associate, but in charge of a really big deal. And it was a big corporate merger. And the fact that I had been put on it that early in my career, it was a big deal, but it was also a big deal. And so I was putting a ton of pressure on myself, had stayed up at the office night after night. And I was getting dressed and putting on my little Banana Republic suit and Nine West shoes and doing my thing. And I collapsed and I couldn't breathe. I was having what I now know was a panic attack. And the first thing I thought to myself is, I don't have time for this. And then in that moment, I maybe it was out of body experience. I don't know. But I remember being like, if I don't have time to figure out why I'm not breathing, what else is there time for?
It's so funny you say that because my wife, she's awesome. She's an occupational therapist, pediatric occupational therapist, CEO of a household with 5 kids.
Yeah.
And I have a vivid memory. She went to a relatively rigorous, I say heartless, some people say rigorous occupational therapy graduate school.
Okay.
And she basically, I remember, she had to be induced with our first kid. And I vividly remember sitting in the doctor's office and the doctor's like, you have to be on bed rest. And she's like, okay, so after my finals next week.
It's like, you don't get to choose.
And the doctor's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what? What? No.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, thankfully, it worked out in the schoolwork and things like that. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I wish when people look and they think about their hustle, and I'm sure we'll get into this more because I do want to speak about your work because it's fascinating to me, is it probably could have been prevented. Like the
Yeah.
panic attack.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not saying that means that you had to be a career lawyer,
Yeah. Sure.
but if somebody would have
Mm-hmm.
taught you, or you would have thought of, not that you
Mm-hmm.
could have, but I'm just saying, looking
Mm-hmm.
back, had you had the skill that
Mm-hmm.
you teach people now,
Oh, for sure.
right?
Yep.
You may still
Yep.
be a lawyer, not that you had to be, but you know what I'm saying? I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah. Like it
the
creates different
unfortunate
decision
part,
trees in your life.
exactly.
And then you can look back with new knowledge, new experience, and be like, oh, I wonder, if current Chelsea, 42-year-old Chelsea, was showing up at the law firm, would I take the same shit from the partners? Absolutely not. I would be respectful, but I would have boundaries. I didn't know how to have boundaries. I would be more connected to my intuition, which is the work that I do now of helping entrepreneurs to develop and listen to their intuition. I was so disconnected from my body. I was so disconnected from my priorities, my energy. It was just, I can look back at that version of me and have a lot of compassion. And now, what led to that? Oh, childhood trauma and pressure, all kinds of things add up to be who you are in any given situation, right? And then I can look at it now and be like, oh, maybe I could get back in that. But for the purposes of where I'm at in life right now, hybrid homeschooling my child, and I can just look at it and be like, well, it wouldn't be optimal to do that right now, but I could show up in that same situation completely differently.
And
I
have it
believe
not
that.
impact your health. Again, that doesn't
I
mean that it's
believe
best
that.
for
Yeah.
you, but I
Yeah.
think that then when people learn those skills, there are the seasons of life, and
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody deserves to live in the constant pressure. But
Hmm.
you said you finished college in 3 years. That kind of means that you also had to do some tests and studying and cramming and
Yeah. Exactly.
focusing on that. But
Yeah.
it's like how can people get through finals because they know vacation's coming? And if it's
Hmm.
that short stint
Yeah. You can just like
of that,
run for it. Yeah.
anybody, I don't want to say anybody because I don't want to knock on people who can't, but like
Yeah.
basically anybody can pull an all-nighter if they have to, right? Anybody can
Hmm.
stay up all night if they need to figure out how to, like push the rock to save their life. But yet
Yeah.
nobody needs
Sure.
to or wants to.
Hmm.
I love bios. I've gotten into them since I got this. And I
Okay.
love
Of
how like
course
how
you have.
people
You're a
write
great
their bios.
interviewer.
No, and so I want to, I have, there is we're going to get to the 90-day roadmap in a second. Okay.
Okay.
But I have a sentence that I'd like to deconstruct with you.
Okay. Let's do
So I'm
it.
going to read it and then we're
Word
going to go
nerd.
one piece at a time. Okay.
Okay.
She, referring to you, Chelsea Fournier, I just keep
Yes.
saying that because I nailed
You
it,
nailed it.
is a sought after speaker on, now we're going to get to the part I want to break down. Intuitive
Yeah.
pricing.
Yeah.
That's a this one fascinates me. Nervous system safe strategy.
Mm.
So we're going to get past intuitive pricing because
Hmm.
I think I know what that is, but
Yeah.
nervous system safe strategy. And this is awesome. How to invite intuition into the boardroom, or I assume career life, without
Yeah,
sacrificing
sure.
structure.
Yeah.
So would you like to discuss nervous system safe strategy first, or intuition without sacrificing structure? Go. I
Yeah.
want both, so go for it.
Let's talk nervous system safe. Nervous system is such a
What does
big
that mean? I
buzzword
am
these
ignorant.
days.
I'm ignorant. Start from
Yeah.
zero.
So let's imagine you are maybe you've signed up into a coaching program or you've joined a mastermind, and this person who you admire is talking about a method of doing a launch or creating a sales process, or maybe you're in a career and you've got a mentor. And strategically, what they're teaching you makes sense. And if you could just put the ball in the hole, okay, this should move my career forward or grow my business, but it doesn't feel safe. It doesn't either fit within the realistic expectations of what's actually happening in your life. Like your wife, if she had the contradiction of, oh, you need to be on bed rest, and at the same time, someone is telling you that you also need to be on a 90-day sales blitz or something, like just incongruence. But also, there's definitely a wave of people who are really working towards self awareness, self alignment, understanding what's right for them. And nervous system safety in business is looking at if there's a strategy that could work, but every time you take a step, you are literally feeling sick to your stomach. It doesn't feel authentic. It won't go past your lips to talk about a certain sales strategy, Why are you forcing yourself to do it that way? I mean, you've had what, 100 at least, guests on this podcast, and you can look at and see there's any number of ways to be successful in business. And so, if a specific method that strategically, logically could work, but it feels wrong in your body, can we start paying attention to that?
And I'll tell you what I love about that answer, and that is that you, in no way are you saying that the method is wrong for everybody.
Correct.
Meaning,
Yep.
there are those people who actually thrive on things that make other people sick or fail.
Yeah.
And some people, and it's almost like the argument, to make it very simplistic, and obviously this has nothing to do with health, but like the very simplistic thing of looking at when people go to work remote. Some people do extremely well working in their bedroom in their pajamas, and some people can't even figure out how to clear the crust from around their eyes if they don't get dressed and go to an office, right? No, by the way, there's abundance of success that happens at both levels.
Totally.
A person just has to lean into that. So I think as it relates to health and hustle, it's the same kind of a thing. And I'm happy because people, I think, are starting to lean into that and starting to believe in that.
I think so too. And, a lot of my clients have reasons why they could make it an excuse, a valid excuse. They could say, I'm neurodivergent. I'm a full-time caretaker to my parents. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm a homeschooling mom. There could be a reason. I have chronic health issues that are there, whether I'm running a business or not. But my suggestion is, instead, if they have a dream, if they have a vision, if they know that they are meant to be running a business or succeeding in a career, instead of leaning into the excuse and making it a hard stop, what if we made accommodations? What if we looked at the path you want to go and work backwards and make things fit for you? And so it's really looking at things at a much more personalized level, because something, you may have a trauma in your past, or you may have a trigger in your past where something that could work for 100 people, for some reason, it just triggers the crap out of you and you can't figure out why. But it doesn't matter why, as long as you can figure out a way to get from A to B that feels good for you. And that's really about your paying attention to your nervous system, tuning into it.
The ironic part, or the interesting part about that, is that those people who make the accommodations probably get more out of the employees and better deliverable and a better product.
That's true.
which is, and that's the irony, right? Where it's like the people who are stuck in the stiff ways, they see a certain level of success, but they don't realize. It's like, I walk around offices now and I see the chairs that people sit at. I'm in the insurance business, and these are formal insurance carriers, right? One person sitting in a regular desk chair, one person sitting on a bouncy ball, one person. And I think, like, my father, he should rest in peace, when he started, he and his friends, they would have thought that these people are totally nuts. And then you say, hold on a second. Then you say, hold on a second. This person, let's just say, is our best performing employee, but their thing is sitting on a medicine ball. Like, it's just their jam. Like, we figured it out, and we figured out that if we put them on a medicine ball, or we put them on a high stool at an elevated desk, we're going to get, let's just be totally selfish and heartless here for a second. We're going to get 20% better, more efficient output.
Totally. Yep.
Hello.
Yep.
Well, by the way, we can even put them aside, but I'm just saying we could even put them aside. And say the companies that embrace that, and then the people who embrace it, end up with a better deliverable product, which ultimately means more profitability and more success on a business level. And by the way, you get the added bonus of personal comfort and success. So I think that's amazing. I have to ask you about intuition. You use the word intuition a lot. You use intuition. Maybe some people would think it's at the sacrifice of structure. Maybe some people would say it's with structure. Let's talk about intuition, why people miss it, what you think they're missing, how people can tap into it. Take us through that.
Let's go there. And I think one thing that's nice about me and the way that I speak about this is some people can get real turned off about intuition, of feeling like it's woo-woo, it's out there, right? It's, oh gosh, that's way out of left field for where I'm at. But what I really encourage people to think about is intuition is whatever that inner knowing, the voice, the ping that you get, whatever feels approachable for you. It's just self-trust at the end of the day. And, some people explore intuition through more spiritual practices, and some people practice and explore intuition just of what does it mean to trust myself. And it often takes a lot of deconditioning of how we have been trained to make decisions, especially in corporate America. As a lawyer, I had to decondition what does it look like to pay attention to how my body feels as I'm deciding this? Oh, that's different than a pro con list or a risk assessment, right? And can they both live? And they for sure can, because if you're someone who's gained knowledge and experience and expertise and, genius, whether it's in your career or in running a business, you have a foundation of knowledge that you bring that's completely unique. If you and I had to make the same exact business decision, we would be coming at it from a completely different foundation, and the right decision might be different for you versus for me based on where we want to go. And so it's really about starting to understand the unique nature of how we all show up to business decisions, the definition of success that we all have. And that might even change from season to season as lives change or health changes or, family grows and needs happen. And getting in touch with your intuition can look like, one of my mentors said, just keep a little journal. Keep a journal for 3 or 4 days. When you're running out the door and your sweater gets caught on the doorknob and you freak out, and then you go back and maybe you follow your intuition to just take a couple deep breaths, and it completely changes the course of the day, and then you shift. Versus, okay, if you get the ping that you should slow down, and oh, this was a sign, and then you don't slow down, and then you get into a car accident later, like how all of our micro decisions start to add up. And if you really tune in, there's so many times in any given day where there's a little bit of a, oh, I should do this. Oh, I should do that. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, maybe this is a sign. And the more you can get in touch with that, it's like building a relationship. I often think that our intuition or higher self, inner guidance, whatever someone feels comfortable calling it, is like having a relationship with a small child. And if every time that small child is trying to tell you something or, pull on your sweater, get your attention, you ignore it, eventually they just stay in the corner and they don't come over to talk to you. But if you're having a discourse and interested and curious and, oh, I felt that, let me try it, let me pay attention. Oh, I have tension in my body while I'm saying yes to this. And then 2 days later, you feel like that decision you regret. Oh, interesting. What is a cue that my body is giving me that I've been overriding to only be in logic? And finding that balance of bringing your knowledge, gifts, expertise, logic, and tuning into your body and your energy can be a game changer for people to really build momentum in a way that's going to work for them.
So I love that. And I want to get practical on that for a second.
Yeah.
I was just thinking as you were talking that over the seasons of someone's life,
Mm-hmm.
there are those that have the greatest impact on them. It's parents, it's teachers,
Mm-hmm.
it's mentors and bosses
Yeah, sure.
and spouses.
Yeah.
So I thought I would say somewhere in that range,
Yeah.
it starts as parents and teachers and then
Yeah.
kind of it gets to the people.
Mm-hmm.
What can we, those listening, those who are guests, those who believe in this,
Mm-hmm.
as parents, for those of us that are lucky enough to be parents like you and I are, as mentors or business owners or coaches, teachers in the classroom, wherever it is,
Yeah.
when we can have an impact, how can we stimulate those who we impact and those who look up to us to be in touch with their intuition? Because I feel like what you're saying is that when a person actually leans into their intuition and studies it, then there comes a point where it doesn't feel like work. Meaning, at this point, you would probably say, "You got it. Like you know how this is gonna feel." And by the way, again, we get people have surgeries and they have pain because that's what gets them through. So sometimes people might. I don't think what you're saying is avoid every single thing that ever gives you tension, stress, or whatever, right?
Exactly.
But it's if I know that going into this presentation or this deadline, I'm going to feel X, Y, Z, and I intuit it, and therefore I know that my best way to combat it is doing whatever, taking a walk, going outside, making sure I take lunch, making sure, by the way, it's better for me to go home from the office and come in the morning, or it's better for me to stay late and then just tell my boss, hey, I need all those things that I can intuit, you can intuit.
Yeah.
I feel like it then becomes a natural thing. And again, you then become a better product for yourself first and foremost, but then for those around you. So how can we practically inspire others to tap into that intuition?
Well, I think first, if it's something that you have honed, what I have found is that just embodying it and speaking about it is very inspiring to others. Like it would be very hypocritical for me, and it's hard as a parent since you brought up parenting. It would be hypocritical for me to talk about, encouraging people to follow their intuition and then to micromanage every decision that my son makes that I wouldn't agree with. And this comes into the workplace too, because if you're trying to encourage and foster people trusting their intuition, believing in themselves, doing what feels right for them as a mentor, coach, trainer, boss, it becomes releasing some control. And that can be really hard in those different levels of power dynamics, right? But if you're doing it in a workplace and you foster this, whether you call it intuition or self trust or whatever's going to work in your organization, right? It's helping people to become more independent. And when you're your own boss, if you're running your own business or even kind of division or whatever it's going to look like for you, it allows you to lead in a way that you couldn't if you were trying to do something the way you think you quote unquote should, even though you feel like you're butting your head up against a wall. We've all been there, being like, well, I've been told I have to do it this way. So even though I could do it more efficiently this way, I'm going to do it this way. And when you bring that into every aspect of your work, it helps you to be in more ease and flow and zone of genius. And that's what every organization needs.
You just reminded me when I was a kid, when I was in 10th grade, I was in art class and there was a project and my art teacher told me to paint something red. And the head of the art department, I hope she's still alive. We ended up becoming friends, but her name was Mrs. Rosen. She was awesome, but not awesome at the same time. She comes over and she basically told me to paint it blue. And then I obviously listened to my teacher because she was the one who was giving me the grade. And I didn't particularly care about art. And then Mrs. Rosen came over and berated me for not listening to her because she was, the guru. And I thought about the most efficient way to get to where I wanted to go. So I said, what grade? Yeah. She said, you don't care about art. And I said, no, I just care about the grade. And she said, what grade do I have to give you for you never to come back? And I said, B. And then we settled on a B and I never came back.
Wow.
And the reason why you just reminded me of that, not that just that it was an ADD moment, was that was the singular most genius efficiency thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is it was stimulated by a pressure that didn't have to be there. And obviously it's a very silly example, but if you imagine the person who embraces the challenge of the person, says, oh, really, you only care about the grade, why? Or you only care about this. Like, let's get you to a place where you enjoy it or you enjoy yourself. And this is not just a psychological state, but it's also people who are happy with themselves and happy with what they're doing are better for the world.
It's so
happy
true.
with themselves is a broad definition. I said themselves. I didn't say my definition of what they should do. I didn't say your definition of what they should do. And if the world can lean into that, and you're saying, obviously, taking unfortunate, severe mental illness aside, the average person, if pushed or stimulated in the right direction, can follow that intuition, can embrace that intuition.
Yeah.
And can then become the best version of themselves.
And I think what's fun is treating it as a little bit of an experiment. We can be so serious in our work. And if you can bring curiosity and experimentation, what it does force you to do is it forces you down to slow down as you're making decisions, but that doesn't have to be slowing down momentum in what you're doing. But we are so quick as a society to like, oh, a decision's been put in front of you. An email just hit your inbox. I need to reply right now. But what if you start to find that you make your best decisions and communicate about them when you let it simmer? Maybe you move your body for 30 seconds. Maybe you do an oracle card pull. Maybe you just need to take some deep breaths. Like, it doesn't have to be hours or days of delay. But what if there's something that just helps you connect into grounding? What's going to be best for me? What's going to be best for my organization? What's going to be best for my vision? And allowing that process to happen and having some boundaries around it. I don't make decisions immediately and drive some people crazy. And I'm going to say, okay, well, I need a little bit of time. I'll get back to you. And I'll get back to you. But if I make split decisions or I go off the cuff on things, you're not going to get the best part of me. And especially if you're paying me, you might want to let me do my process that I've honed over the past 15 years. And it allows people to mature on the path they're meant to be on, as opposed to feeling like they're just on this path of shoulds. And when you're a business owner, it costs a lot of money to be on a path of shoulds, pay for courses, hire coaches, hire mentors. that you could have discerned the right path with slowing down a little bit, getting to know yourself. I think even in the corporate world, like there's a time for coaching and mentoring. I believe it's best positioned around filling a knowledge gap or a skill gap, or when you're newer working for yourself or working in a new field and you need to see what's possible. Like there's points in time where working with a mentor or a coach is going to compress time for you and you need that. And then there's times, and I see this all the time with my clients, where they keep spending, keep hiring, keep buying courses, keep buying downloads, acquire this digital grave in their Google Drive of things, when if they just slowed down to get clear about what they want, about what it looks like for them to feel success, about how they like to make decisions, that they could save so much time and money and compress that success for themselves.
I absolutely love that. Wow. Okay. I'm going to say something. I don't know how many times I've said this in over 100 episodes, but
Okay.
everyone's got to listen to this episode again. You just finished it once. Go listen to it a second time because there was so much here to unpack. And Chelsea, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Yeah.
And I would encourage everyone, as I always do, read the bio, check out Chelsea's work, check out her book, her free gifts, everything like that, because I know you'll benefit from her work. Chelsea, as you know, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote and what it means to them and to their hustle. And so with that, I'll say thank you again, and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, I'm someone who has always looked up to Eleanor Roosevelt. I remember going to Washington, D.C. when I was very young and getting a bookmark of hers and then a couple books. And one of the quotes that she shared that has stayed with me always is that the world of the future is in our making and tomorrow is now. And I think that's a great one to think about if you're an emerging leader in your field.
100%. Thank you again, Chelsea Fournier. This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. And remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.